welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to another video and welcome to my 2025 romance bingo board announcement. If you guys were here around this time last year, you guys know that I put up a 2025 romance bingo board and I was so excited about how all of that turned out that I wanted to do a 2025 edition as well. So today I'm going to go over the bingo board as a whole, go over some recommendations, talk about the rules, give you all the information on where you can access this particular bingo board as well as any other additional information that I'm going to provide in this video. And then if you have any questions about the bingo board in and of itself or the rules, which there aren't very many, or anything like that, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Before we get into the actual bingo board, I'm going to apologize in advance. I am very sick. I have been sick for the past 2 weeks and I cannot put this video off any longer. We are coming towards the end of the year, and if you guys wanted to plan this out for whatever time span that you want, I need to get it up ASAP. So I apologize for how I sound, but hopefully you can bear through it. So without further ado, let's talk about the 2025 romance bingo board. Here it is. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be sharing this with you guys. I worked really hard on the prompts and the design and all of the things that went along with it, and I'm just so excited to share it with you guys. I am putting up the mauve color because that is the original color that I decided to base this bingo board around, but I do have a couple of different options for you guys depending on how you like to look at your bingo boards and if you want to print them out or use them or how busy they look. So we'll go over that in just a few seconds, but this is it. This is the 2025 bingo board. I made some changes from last year, changed up the selection of prompts. Some of them are reoccurring, but some of them aren't. And I added an addition of some non-reading prompts in this year's bingo board as well, which I'm very excited to chat about. So let's first talk about the bingo board as a whole. What is it? What's the goal? What's the idea behind it? The 2025 romance bingo board is created mostly for romance readers. That being said, when I said before there are rules, that is not one of them. You do not have to read romance specifically to fulfill the prompts. Some of them do say, you know, workplace romance, but if you just wanted to take it and use workplace as the prompt, I'm not policing it. I want you guys to use this to the best of your abilities, have fun, and if you wanted to, if you really like some of the prompts on the board, or if you wanted to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, and this is the board that you wanted to use to do that, but you don't want to read all romance, you don't have to. And the recommendations that I'm going to show you later on today will definitely show that you can read books that don't necessarily feel romancy, but definitely still fulfill the prompt. So this bingo board, ways to win, is just like you would do normally. You can do a horizontal, a vertical, a 4 corners with the free space, or you can black out the board. Any way, shape, or form works. Again, there's no policing it. You could do this in 1 month. You could do this every quarter. You could do this all throughout the year. You could do this every other month. You could do it in a week. You could do it, you know, for 1 day and see how many prompts that you could fulfill for a readathon. It does not matter how you choose to use the board. It's just there for your access if you decide that you want something that's going to challenge you a little bit throughout the year. Last year, for me, I did every quarter, and I loved that. I read quite a few books, but not all of them fit into the prompts that are on the board. So a quarter of reading was really a great time span for me to fit in all the prompts, but still leave myself some space to be a little bit challenged because not all of those prompts were super easy to hit with every single book. Speaking of every single book, you can double up, triple up, quadruple up, as many books as you want to fill a singular prompt if that is what's going to help you fill out this bingo board. You do not have to read a single book for every prompt. You could read 25 books to fill the board, or you could read 1 book, and if you manage to fit them all in, great, wonderful, I love that for you. Or you could read 3 or 5 or whatever you're trying to do to hit your bingo, but it does not have to be a single book for a single prompt. I want you guys to have fun with this, and I honestly love seeing how you guys use the tropes that you find in your books to fit multiple prompts. I always love seeing it on the bingo boards, so I can't wait to see what you guys do with these ones. I don't think there's any other like hard or fast rules for this bingo board. I just do ask that if you're going to share it online that you tag me, because first of all, I would love to see what you guys are doing. I think that's so fun and so great, and I would love to share it. I would love to share your guys' hard work and dedication to the bingo board. I love seeing all of you guys participating, and it was just so much fun to do it last year. So for all of you guys that participated last year and tagged me, thank you so much. It is not unnoticed. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to see what you guys do with 2025s. Now that we talked about the big important things, let's quickly go over the boards that you can use. I have a lot of options for you guys this year because I'm extra and apparently I don't know how to chill. So let's talk about them. So like you guys saw originally, we have the mauve board. It has a couple of different designs on it. It has some strawberries, has some roses, but I did offer these colors, the same color scheme, with a couple of different simplistic options. So you can do one without the strawberries and just the roses, or without the roses and just the strawberries, or a blank mauve board with just the bingo board prompts. However you like to see it. I know that some people don't like super busy things if you're going to print them out for a bullet journal or things like that. So all 4 options in that color are available for you. Speaking of colors, I wanted something that felt a little bit more pink and romantic, but I didn't want to go as pink as last year because I wanted it to look a little bit different. So we have this like reddish, mauvey, purpley color. I don't even know what you would specifically call this color, but again, this is another option for the colors of the bingo boards. And again, the 4 options that were available for the purple mauve are available in this color as well. So without the roses, without the strawberries, with no design at all, just the bingo board prompts. And because I like to sometimes be a little matchy-matchy, I did also make this bingo board in the exact same color scheme as last year's bingo board, in case you wanted to put the 2 of them side by side, or you still are using 2024s and you want to have 2025s right next to it and you want them to match. I also have the options for that in the color scheme of last year. So again, all 4 options are available in this color as well. And because I know that there are people out there, including myself, that like to print them out and put them in a bullet journal, I also offered a black and white version of every single thing that you guys just saw. So the non-roses, the non-strawberries, the plain bingo board in black and white are available to print as well. Everything will be located in a Google Pictures link down below where you can go and download each individual one or as many as you want. The options are going to be there for you. So if you don't know which one to choose, feel free to flick through the pictures and decide which one works best for you. Okay, there's everything about the design and the bingo board, but let's get into the prompts. So on this side, I'm going to keep the board up just so you guys can see the bingo board, but I'm also going to put up some recommendations for each reading prompt just to give you guys an idea of what you can read. Again, this is just a recommendation. There are plenty of other books out there that will fit these prompts, and you can use anything to fulfill them. So let's start off with forced proximity. This is one of my favorite tropes. That being said, this is not something that is strictly a romance prompt. There are so many things that are out there, so many books that are out there that use the trope of forced proximity. I've seen it in thrillers, I've seen it in literary fictions, I've seen it in romances, of course. So for here, I have 4 recommendations, all books that I have read and really enjoyed, but also not all romance books. So you could read something like The Right Move by Liz Tomford, which is a fake dating roommate romance. Or if you wanted to go the fantasy romance route, you could read One Dark Window. This main character has a monster stuck in her head, and that is as close as forced proximity as you can get. Then you have things like Funny Story, which is again another fake dating roommates romance. Or if you wanted to go the total opposite end of the spectrum, you could do No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is about a girl that gets stuck at a rest stop during the holidays, I believe. It's snowed in, there's nowhere for them to go, and she ends up seeing some crazy things in the back of somebody's car, and the absolute chaos descends from there. Up next on the bingo board, we have our first non-reading prompt, and that is romanticize your reading. Now this could be interpreted in many different ways. You can romanticize it by taking a photo of the things that you're reading, or you could take yourself out on a reading date, or you can go to the library and pick something up that you've been wanting to that you haven't had the chance to do, or you can put on a really cute ambiance and drink a cup of tea while you read your book. However you interpret romanticizing your reading totally fits the prompt. Again, not policing you here. Do whatever you think is fun. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to make reading at home a little bit more special. Make it a moment, a time in your life for which you're going to have a little bit of fun. And I sometimes need to remind myself that reading is not a job, you know? I can have fun with it and I can do a lot of different things when it comes to reading, and sometimes just having that gentle reminder is always fun. So I hope that you guys enjoy that prompt. Next, we have sports romance. Again, this one does have sports romance in the title of this prompt, but I think that you can stretch it in any way, shape, or form that you think is best. So I'm going to give you some very straightforward sports romance recommendations. We have Until I Get You by Claire Contreras, which is a hockey romance. The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy, which is another hockey romance. And then one of my favorites, we have Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan, which is a basketball romance. And again, all of those strictly fit into the sports romance category. But one that I'm going to use to kind of flip this on its head is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It is a fantasy romance, so it definitely fits into the romance category. However, there is a competition that is happening at the forefront of the story, and that is a game. I don't know if it's necessarily a sport, but if you wanted to stretch the prompt to fit that particular type of reading, it is totally doable. The next prompt is LGBTQI+ rep. And again, there are so many books out there that will fit this prompt. It does not have to be just romance or fantasy romance, as you guys can see from my recommendations here. However, I think that it's great to always remind us to read more inclusively and read books that are including a lot of different diverse representations, and this is definitely one of them. I'm always trying to push myself to read more books with LGBTQI+ rep, and I love having this prompt on the board. So my recommendations for this would be House on the Cerulean Sea, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, For the Fans, and Legends and Lattes. Some of my absolute favorite books that I have read in the last couple of years, and I definitely am so happy to recommend them. The last prompt on the first row of prompts is seasonal read, and I love this prompt. Last year I did a holiday romance, romance, and I feel like this was very niche. It was very sucked in, and so I wanted to do something that was a little bit easier to fulfill, and I'm doing seasonal read. Now you could take that as a holiday romance. There are a lot of options for a holiday romance, which are most of my recommendations today, but I also think that you could read something that feels seasonal. So a book with snow on the cover in the winter, or a book with orange on the cover in the fall, or a book that says summer in the title, like I have recommended Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. There are a lot of options here, but I didn't want to box you guys into specifically holiday romances. However, the holiday romances that I do want to recommend are Scream for Us by Molly Doyle, Tangled in Tinsel by Trilina Pucci, and the Improbable Meet Cute novellas that they published in February of this year, I believe, for Valentine's Day. They're all Valentine's Day centric romances. They're novellas by a lot of different authors, but again, they're short. And it's not a traditional holiday. I feel like when you think holiday, you think Christmas, you think Halloween. But I feel like there are a lot of options for holiday romances that are not just those two holidays. So again, the scope is broad and I can't wait to see what you pick. Next on the board is a brand new release. I don't have any recommendations for this because it depends on when you are picking up your books for this prompt, but all you have to do is read a book that is a brand new release. Whether you want to do that in the last month, in the last couple of months, in the last 6 months, or in the last year or 2 years, whatever your new release is to you is what will fit for this prompt. Then we have fantasy romance, and of course it is very self-explanatory. You want to read a fantasy romance. However, that being said, you can read a book that is a dense, epic adult fantasy that has a slight tinge of romance somewhere in the plot, and that will count as a fantasy romance. Again, stretch this in any way, shape, or form that fits the best for you. My recommendations for this prompt are going to be Guild by Raven Kennedy, Empire the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, Belladonna by Adeline Grace, and Bride by Ali Hazelwood. One of my favorite tropes is coming up next, and that is single parent. Again, doesn't have to be in specifically a romance. However, I love a single parent romance. It's one of my favorites. It always hits that sweet spot. It just scratches something in my brain that works for me, and I cannot wait to read something for this prompt. My recommendations in the fantasy category for this is The Adventures of Amin al-Sarafi. I loved this book so much, and the main female character is a badass single mom, and I cannot recommend it enough. And then, of course, for some romance recommendations, we have Wild Love by Elsie Silver, Rafe by Rebecca Weatherspoon, and Juniper Hill by Dabney Berry. Up next, we have continuous series, and again, there's no recommendations for this, but I'm always looking for an extra excuse to be pushed towards finishing out those series that are on my very long list, so I hope that this does the same for you. And the non-reading prompt in this row, and the last prompt in this row, is Treat Yourself. And this could be in any way, shape, or form. You can buy a new audiobook, you can borrow something from Kindle Unlimited, you can go to the library and borrow a book from there, you can borrow a book from a friend. It could be a book that was gifted to you recently, or a book that you went out and purchased in order to treat yourself. You don't have to spend money to fulfill this prompt, but listen, I don't always need an excuse. In fact, I never need an excuse, but if you're going to give me one on a bingo board, you best believe I'm going to buy a book. Okay, the next prompt is very controversial to a lot of people, but it is one of my favorite subgenres of romance, and so I had to include it. But I didn't put it so that you're forced to read a Why Choose. The next prompt on the board is multiple love interests. Now, you can interpret this in any way, shape, or form that you want. When I think of this, I think of Why Choose. However, you don't have to read Why Choose. You could read something with a love triangle, or the book, like, I didn't include it in my recommendations, but The Reunion by Megan Quinn. That one had multiple love interests because it followed the, 4 siblings and them all falling in love, but there wasn't any, love triangle situation. There's a lot of options for this, and again, it doesn't have to be just a romance setting. You could read a thriller that takes place at a marriage counseling convention. I don't know if that even exists, but obviously there are multiple love interests. However you choose to interpret this one is up to you, but I am going to recommend you some of my favorite Why Choose and a few books that have the love triangle trope that I actually really enjoyed. So at first we have Pucking Around by Emily Rath. A book with a love triangle that I didn't think I would like but I actually loved is Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. Then we have a book with a little bit of polyamory vibes, and that is Flock by Kate Stewart. And then a fantasy romance Why Choose that I want to recommend is Broken Bonds by Jay Bree. And I know that Nikki is kicking and screaming hearing that recommendation, but I'm sorry, I just had to do it. Another one of my absolute favorite tropes, we have Grumpy Sunshine, and there's something about a grump and a sunshine trope that just works so well for me. But again, this does not have to be strictly romance. I've read several books that have it in a fantasy aspect. I've read some thrillers that have a Grumpy Sunshine trope. There are a lot of things out there, so stretch it how you will. But my recommendations for this are going to be The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. My favorite in the Lost and Found series, we have Shadows of You by Catherine Cowles. And then if you want to do a reverse Grumpy Sunshine, you could read Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. Then we have our free space on the board, exactly as it sounds, a free space. Up next, we have another one of my favorites, and that is Friends to Lovers. I love a good Friends to Lovers story. It is just so good. And my recommendations for Friends to Lovers is going to be Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez, obviously, Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ricci, and Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. And the last prompt on the middle row is Found Family. There's something about Found Family that just does what it's supposed to do every time. It makes me emotional, it makes me cry. I just love when people find the people that they need to truly be so happy in life, and that could be romantic or platonic, but it just makes me so happy. So we have to recommend the OG Found Family, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. My absolute favorite fantasy that has Found Family is Wolfsong by TJ Klune. That book is fantastic and that series is incredible. A series that I have to recommend, even though I didn't absolutely love it. Granted, I've only read book 1, but that is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. And we just love a good Elsie Silver, so I had to throw her in again with Powerless by Elsie Silver. Our second to last row, our first prompt is another non-reading prompt, and that is recommend a book. Now, you can take this as a book that is recommended to you if you actually want to read a book to fulfill this prompt. Or you can recommend a book to anybody and you'll fulfill the prompt, whether that's your friend, your mom, your sister, your brother, your person that you don't know on YouTube because you have a YouTube channel, on your Instagram because you have a Bookstagram, whatever you want to interpret that as, be that as you may. Or read a book that a booktuber recommended you. You could read any of the books that I recommended today and it will fit in the prompt because I recommended you a book. So however you want to interpret that, but it is technically a non-reading prompt, so take that as you will. Is this my favorite prompt on the board? I don't know, but something about enemies to lovers just is top tier. It's top tier. You can't convince me it's not, okay? And you can try, but you'll be arguing at the wall. It's so freaking good. And I know there's so many people out there saying, oh, it's overdone, it's never enemies. I don't care. Give it to me. I eat it up every time. I'm going to recommend 2 fantasies and 2 romances. Again, I'm sure you can find this out there in thrillers or literary fiction, but this very much yields the most likely to be in a romance or a fantasy romance, so I apologize for that. But my recommendation for this is going to be Feybound by Sarah L. Arifi. You know I have to talk about it, right? Twisted Hate by Anna Hong, one of the best enemies to lovers out there. Joshi Chen is that man, okay? Then we have A Number in the Ashes by Sabatir, which is a great YA fantasy, so good. And lastly, I feel like this is a quintessential enemies to lovers. We have Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. Up next, we have Workplace Romance. Again, this has the word romance in it, but feel free to stretch it in any way, shape, or form. The first one I'm going to recommend is Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. Another Elsie Silver, I know, can you tell? I love her. I do. Speaking of repeat authors, we have a few of them on this list. We have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, Mile High by Liz Tomforday, and King of Sloth by Anna Huang. Okay, now this is one that you can truly stretch to be anything, because this goes for so many different genres, but the next prompt is illustrated cover. You could choose something like Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, a very strict romance. Or if you wanted to read a graphic novel or manga, this is the perfect opportunity to do so, and my recommendation would be Sheets. If you're going for something middle grade, you could read Amari and the Night Brothers. Or if you wanted a cozy mystery, you could do A Spell of Trouble. Our last prompt on the second to last row is TBR Vet. Again, there's no recommendations for this. Just read a book that's been on your list for a while. It's been collecting dust. You need to get it off your shelves. And it's forcing you to go a little bit outside of your comfort zone. Because if it's been on there for a while, probably means it's because you haven't wanted to pick it up for a little bit. But hey, now's the time. And who knows? It could be a new 5-star. You never know. Okay, our last row is Disability Rep. I love it. I love reading a good book that has some awesome representation. We need more representation in the publishing world, and reading books and promoting books and championing books that have wonderful rep is always a great thing. So I am going to use this opportunity for myself as well to read some more books with disability rep. My recommendations that I absolutely love so much are Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Chris Broadbent, Ever After Always. This is book 3 in the Bergman Brothers series, but I love it so much. It's my favorite one so far, and it has incredible representation. The next recommendation I'm going to make is not a book that I genuinely love. I actually DNF'd it, but this just goes to show there is a lot of books in a lot of genres that have disability rep, and this is one that I think actually had a really incredible rep. The storyline and the type of story that it was just didn't work for me, but everyone that I've heard that read it and got to the end really loved it, and that is Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. Mira Grant is incredible when it comes to representation. Mira Grant is also Shauna McGuire, and I love reading their books, and this is one that didn't work for me, but I know it worked for a lot of people. So if you're looking for a horror book with disability rep, this is definitely a great one. Okay, last year's bingo board was pink, so I had a book with a pink cover. This year's bingo board, it's predominant one. The one that I started with is purple, so we're going to read a book with purple on the cover. And again, there's so many options out there. It doesn't have to be romance, doesn't have to be thriller, doesn't have to be fantasy. It could be anything. There's so many books with purple covers, but these are the ones that I'm going to recommend. So we have another Cat Cow with Fractured Sky. We have a kinky, very sexy novella with The Dare by Harley Laroe. You can read a fantasy romance with one of the books in the Seraphim Academy series. I believe this is book 1. Don't ask me what the name is. I don't know. And again, this is not a book that I loved, but I know that there are a lot of people out there that did, and that is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. The next prompt is out of your comfort zone. I'm just going to push you a little outside of your comfort zone. Whether that means that you are a romance reader and you only read romance, read a subgenre of romance that you don't really read. An alien romance, a monster romance, a book with multiple love interests. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know what I mean. Anything that's outside of your comfort zone. If you don't read thrillers, if you don't read horror, if you don't read graphic novels or manga, or you read those things and you have a fantasy on your shelves that's a massive book that you're scared of. Anything that's outside of your comfort zone, anything that intimidates you will fulfill the prompt in whatever shape or form that feels like for you. All right, the second to last prompt is my favorite non-reading prompt on this board, and that is a mental health day. I think it's really, really so important to take care of your mental health, and for me, that's reading. I love using reading as an escape, but for a lot of people, that's a lot of different things, and I just want you to choose you. For whatever day you need to, choose you, take a mental health day, and I hope it brings you some joy and some comfort and some healing. Okay, we have done it. We've come to the end of the bingo board. I don't want to talk about it. I'm sad. I filmed it, and I'm sad about it, even though I get to use it all year round. But the last prompt is positions of power. And again, this can be in any genre. It's very prevalent in a lot of genres, but I mostly read romance, and so those are the ones I'm going to choose, but I also have a few others that I think would definitely fulfill the prompt. So the first one is No Way Out by Santana Knox. This is a very, very, very dark novella. Please check the trigger warnings if you're going to pick this one up. But this one is between a teacher and a student. In college, I should say. In college. Up next, we have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. The Queen, King, those are positions of power. This one does have a monarch situation going on, so it definitely fulfills the prompt. Clown in the Cornfield. If you guys know, you know I did not enjoy this book, but I think that it does have a very wonderful representation for positions of power. You have to read the book to find that out, but it is off the rails. Check the triggers for this one as well. It's YA, but it's dark. And the last one is another teacher-student college romance, and that is Gothicana by Runix. Alright, that is it. That is the bingo board. I hope that you guys enjoyed the prompts, and I hope that maybe the recommendations helped you a little bit if you were lost on thinking of things to pick for any of the prompts that I provided today. One last thing I want to throw up on the screen is going to be a double up opportunities board. Of all of the books that I recommended today, there are so many that you could use to double up, triple up, quadruple up on books and prompts, and so I just wanted to show you guys the opportunities that you could have if you decided not to do a single book for all 25 prompts. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I do want to just highlight a few. So the first one is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. It does have disability rep, but you could also use it for illustrated cover. You could also use it for forced proximity because it is a surprise pregnancy and the two main characters are obviously forced to be close to each other. So there's a lot of options for that. You have something like Wolfsong that you could use for illustrated cover, fantasy romance, LGBTQI+, alongside the found family trope. That's 4 in one book, and that's incredible. You could do something like Broken Bonds that has a enemies to lovers plotline. It is also forced proximity. It does have an illustrated cover. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of things, but it is also for the multiple love interest prompt. Again, another 4 prompts for one book. So I'm just saying, the opportunities are endless. All of the graphics that I shared today with recommendations will also be linked down below for you guys to peruse or download them if you need recommendations for future. If you don't want to come back to the video and watch it, it'll always be there for your ease. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that you're excited to partake in the bingo board for 2025. I can't wait to see what you guys do with it. Let me know down below if you're going to be participating and how you're going to participate, if you're going to do it for a week, a month, the entire year, in the quarters, every other month. Let me know how you decide that you're going to use it for 2025. I would love, love, love to see that down below. Also, if you have any recommendations for the prompts down below that you think others will struggle with, if you want to leave your recommendations, I would be so happy to see those, and maybe I'll pick up one of them in a video in the future. So if you have any recommendations for the prompts that you know that I haven't read, maybe leave them down below and I can include them in a video in the future. I am so excited for 2025. It's going to be a fantastic year. I can feel it. There are so many great opportunities that are going to come for every single one of you guys, and I hope that 2025 is your year. I hope it's my year, and I hope that we thrive and just have the best time. I have a few more videos coming up, so many fun things to look forward to, a lot of 2024 stats and end of the year content that is going to come to you guys in January. If I don't see you before then, I hope you have a wonderful and happy and safe new year. I love you guys so much, and I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it to the end and don't know anything else to comment, leave a heart emoji because I love you guys so much. And of course, it is a romance bingo board, so we want to be showing the love. That is the end of this video, though. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And of course, leave any comments, questions, suggestions in the comment section below. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Thanks, baby.